Good morning. What will we talk about this morning? Well, I had a very heavy night. I was thinking all night about Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment and how Raskolnikov is actually an enlightened being, but nobody can see this because everybody imposes their morality on it. Like all the philosophers in all the colleges and everything else, in every lecture I look at on Dostoevsky, they all judge Raskolnikov and they all say, like, oh, he went mad. He thought he was a Superman. He thought he was the Overman. He thought he was the Overman, and then he went mad. And then he went mad, and he ended up in jail and everything else. A just punishment and all. But they all look from the perspective that he thought he was the Overman, that he thought he was the Superman, but they don't actually contemplate the fact that he was, because he rose above their head through rational thinking. And one point is that they all overlook is what Carl Jung said was, if you don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Now, people read these things, you don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious, but they don't actually contemplate them enough and apply them to life and seek to understand them enough. And that's where they fall down, because if they did, they would seek to understand Raskolnikov. When I first read Crime and Punishment, it went completely over my head. All the wonderful philosophy went completely over my head because I just imposed my morality upon it. Oh, she's a cunt and he's this and oh, he's a ruthless murderer and he's this and that. So just by posing your morality on nature, you're never going to understand. And that's why, if you want to become enlightened, which is really now not saying I'm enlightened, but it's just enlightened. I actually hate the term enlightened, but really, what it really means, if we define our terms, it's just a higher level of consciousness. It's a different way of perceiving life, but you have to make the darkness conscious. That means you have to embrace your dark side. But when you embrace your dark side, there's lots of people. I hear Peterson going on about fucking be a monster and be a this and be a that, and I've been thinking about this all night, but I actually wonder, has he embodied this? Because he sits there crying through a lot of these fucking lectures. You know what I mean? Like, he has it seems to, I don't know if it's a genuine emotional disturbance or if it's, what do you call those tears? Crocodile tears. I don't know if it's crocodile tears. But I'll tell you one thing, like, I'll tell you now, like, well, I've been thinking about it all night. And really, like, if you do look beyond good and evil, there is no emotional disturbance of this sort. Like, you can talk about nearly any topic you bloody well want, and there's no emotional disturbance. But he sits there nearly sobbing through most of his lectures, and I believe they're actually genuine. It's a genuine emotional disturbance. And I said to myself, has the man actually embodied this I won't call it a psychology he's teaching, because he really is, well, I'm going to have to give the man credit where credit is due. He's really at a level a little bit higher than the rest of them, like, because the rest of them are just, well, psychology, it's really, well, for me, well, it doesn't come anywhere near fucking good philosophy, I'll tell you that. That's why I said I'm not going to knock it, and I won't knock it, but Peterson, I started wondering if he's actually embodying his philosophy, because he sits there crying to a lot of lectures. And I tell you now, like, there's very little that's going to disturb you if you see beyond good and evil, because really, like, and the first thing you have to deal with is death. You have to deal with death first. And you get this opportunity to deal with death. And the first chance to deal with death, for example, like in the COVID times, like, everybody gets a chance to deal with death. In the COVID, everybody gets the chance to deal with death. Now, if you're going to run scared and you're afraid to die and you're afraid to make everybody else sick and you think it's a big crime for someone to die, you're really on the wrong path. Because you don't understand nature, you don't understand death, and this is going to really inhibit your life and inhibit your experience. Because, like, this is the biggest fear, one of the biggest fears everybody has is the fear of death. And if you don't overcome the fear of death, this is why the Stoics say memento mori. To really learn how to live, you have to learn how to die. Like, to truly live, you have to learn how to die. But again, people don't understand this. But what this actually means is that when you overcome all your fears, death being the biggest one, well, it wasn't, to be honest, it wasn't the biggest one for me. The perceptions of others was. Yeah. What was the biggest fear? No, the biggest fear for me was losing my mind. That was the biggest fear for me, was losing my mind, going insane. I wrote a big essay on it through a transition point. But this is, once you embark on the path of seeking to understand, like, I remember seeking to understand Hitler, and I remember coming out and holding my head and saying, what the fuck are you doing to me? What the fuck are you doing to me? Are you making me into a monster? Are you making me into a monster? You know what I mean? And then I just stayed trying to understand and just trying to understand, and then eventually I understood. But that's a long story, which I might go into more when you actually have a better understanding of nature. You might be able to understand the whole Mao and Hitler and Julius Caesar without judgment, without actually judging me and judging them. So I won't go into that now. But I remember seeking to actually understand it, because that's the difference. Everybody else judges them. And this is the hypocrisy, and some of the hypocrisy I even see in Stoicism. In Stoicism, I'm not going to mention anyone's names or anything like that, but we have some people who teach about memento mori and teach about death and teach about this, that, the other, but yet they get offended at when you mention Hitler or the Holocaust or anything like this, because they actually haven't. This is, again, it's pure hypocrisy. You know what I mean? They're teaching to overcome death. They're teaching memento mori. They're teaching, but all they're doing is regurgitating shite, because they can't actually understand it. Do you know what I mean? You know, and a lot of people like do this, like, really, like, and I know, like, I am addressing some of the hypocrisies, but that's the only way we can change, is by well, it's back to the golden rule: what you see in others, look for in yourself first. But again, Jung said, in order to be able to see this, in order to be able to understand this, you have to understand the darkness in yourself first. So you have to. But Peterson goes on about this, and Peterson, I don't think he fully embodies the philosophy, even though he might get these thoughts and he might relate these thoughts. I'm not sure he fully embodies the philosophy. But he's right about one thing. Once you actually fully embody the philosophy and fully embrace the dark side and learn how to use the dark side, then you can have an inversion from prey to predator. For example, the state was coming after me. I remember I used to have the gym there. And they used to come in every week and collect rates off me. Now, this is pure extortion. Because I remember going to them and asking them, can I have some money? I found myself unemployed with nothing and everything else. And I went to them and I asked them, can I have some money to open a gym? Well, first of all, I went to them with a big business plan for bouncer training. And I said to them, this is a fabulous idea. And it was a fabulous idea, a whole new curriculum of training for the bouncers, because the PSA was providing completely insufficient training. And I said, this is fucking ridiculous. What about the Health and Safety at Work Act 1995 and everything else? This is completely been overlooked altogether. And I went with a big business plan for a training system for security. And they more or less said to me, oh, this is an awful lot of work. And I said, yeah, but I like work, like. But they refused to give me the money. And then they gave me tickets to a fucking thing where people were blowing smoke up each other's arse about how great they were about their businesses. And this was supposed to be inspirational. And I met these people at these things. And one of the women, I remember, well, the universe must have put me sitting beside this woman who was out to get the 10 grand grant for making a kit for repairing ties. Now, no child repairs ties, and this was the greatest load of bollocks you ever saw. A little sewing kit in it and all this. It was a complete load of shite, and they gave her 10 grand for this to be manufactured in China. And they gave her a 10 grand after refusing me money. Well, I was steaming and I went out through the fucking door like a fucking bull. Out Minery, I met the man that refused me in the door, but I managed to hold my tongue and get out past him and go on home. I just look at it and choke the cunt. But anyway, and then I went to them after this again, another business plan, because I just wanted to move on. I just wanted to do things like. And I went to them again then, and I asked them for fucking money to open a gym. And they said to me, no, you have to be a year on the dole. Yeah, I was only 6 months on it. This I said, you have to be a year on the dole before you're eligible for any money. And I said, you mean I have to be a year on the dole before you'll even consider giving me any money to do some work and get started? I have a fucking a business initiative here. And I said, yeah, you have to be a year on the dole to even be considered for this money. And I said, well, fuck you. So I went on and did it regardless. I managed to open the gym regardless. And the minute I had the gym open, I hadn't it open 2 days when they came in with the fucking hand out looking for money for fucking playing music. Well, I reared at them like a dog. I hit the fucking roof and I'm get the fuck out of here, I've only 15 minutes. Get the fuck out of here and don't come back. But I ran him out that hard, I went purple. It was like a purple in Incredible Hulk. As I was doing the bodybuilding at the time, it was about 100 kilos. And I went completely citrus. And your man couldn't get out of the place fast enough. He nearly took the door off the hinges going out. But never came back. And then after this, they came into me after this, then with the hand out again. And took, I think it was €200 a week off me. When I wasn't even getting going, when I wasn't even started, they came in and took 200 a week off me, and that's pure extortion. That's pure extortion. Regardless of my profits, regardless of my everything, they refused to give me money, and then fucking came in and fucking with the hand out and extorted €200 a week off me, for sweet fuck all. So I should have, by right, have told him to fuck off out through the door and stood my ground, but I didn't. I let it continue, but that's largely because the man who was collecting the rates was a fierce, nice man, gentleman. Fuck, he was a gentleman. I was actually a real gent, a real nice fella. And, you know, like, I suppose I'm a bit soft at heart, but I didn't, you know, he was a real nice fella, and even if I didn't have money 1 week, there was no bullshit out of me. He was just a real gent. So that's how they managed to pull it off for so long. But eventually, once he was gone, the minute he was gone, I said to him, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to close this gym, and then you're going to pay me 200 a week, which is exactly what I did. And then I started the bouncer training anyway, regardless of using their money. But anyway, to make a long story short, not only that, but they then fucking attacked me and well, they put my business under pressure by bringing me to court. But this was me being the prey and being preyed on by the state, and now I will be the predator. I was just saying to a friend of mine yesterday, I am now going to turn full dog on the state, but I have a strategy for this. But this is the prey becomes the predator. And once you embrace the dark side, the prey becomes the predator. And this is nature, predator and prey. But you can make a choice. Do you want to be the prey? Do you want to be the predator? Good morning.